Hello, I'm Mary Ann Petrillo, Education Marketing Lead for Corporate Affairs at Cisco. Today we have a conversation with former Governor Bob Weiss of West Virginia, who also served as a member of Congress for 18 years. Since 2005, Governor Weiss has been president of the Alliance for Excellence in Education. The Alliance has been at the forefront on supporting policy to help transform high schools and ensure that every student is prepared for post-secondary learning and success in life. Governor Weiss, welcome to Cisco.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the privilege of being here.
Let's begin our conversation today with a brief background on your early work as Governor of West Virginia and how you came to be president of the Alliance for Excellence in Education.
I became involved in the Alliance because education has always been a passion of mine, and particularly in West Virginia. I once ran for governor when I was 16, not because I was a prodigy, but because this was at a camp, a summer camp, and I lost to a fellow who ran on the platform, and this is 40-some years ago, education is the only passport from poverty. And he was right then for not only my state, but the entire nation, and he's right today. And so, as governor and when I was in Congress, I focused a lot on educational issues. The Alliance for Excellent Education is a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. We focus on, our mission is that every child should graduate from high school, college, and career ready, and to take their place as a citizen. And so this gives me the chance to be involved in my last great campaign in life, to try to organize people around the policies that truly help every child to graduate college and career ready. And so it's a wonderful opportunity. I've done this since I left the governorship 5 years ago and can't imagine doing anything else.
That's wonderful. And education is not a bad place to spend the rest of your life working towards. I mean, the outcome is enormous for all of society. Nationally, I understand that 65% of 12th graders currently do not read at grade level. That translates to millions of struggling students, and we know that because of this, students are at a greater risk to drop out of school and to not continue on to college. How's the Alliance engaged in addressing these issues? I know you have many ways.
Well, the issue of adolescent literacy, that is, reading and comprehension in the secondary schools, middle and high school, has always been a major issue of the Alliance for just the reason that you say. Mm-hmm. I can point to the number of each state has a test that measures the percentage of students that are reading below grade level. I can look at how many students are reading 2 grades below level in the 8th grade, and I can tell you within 1 percentage point what the dropout rate will be for that class. And so reading and comprehension in middle schools is critically important. Unfortunately, most states and the federal government have not recognized that until just the last few years. And so what the Alliance has done is to focus attention not only on the studies, not only on the practice, but on what it is that works to truly improve reading and comprehension, and so to get our policymakers at the federal level, but also at the state and local, to get our policymakers to understand the importance of literacy. And also our educators, because if you're in the secondary school system, you're thinking, wait, these kids are they're supposed to know how to read. Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And yet at the same time, what we know is that reading and comprehension is not something that stops at the 3rd grade or the 5th grade. You have to have a literacy strategy in every grade so that every student truly is able to move ahead. Because I can, once again, if you have 65 to 70% of your 8th graders not reading at grade level, now entering high school, it's not a mystery that 2/3 of all of our dropouts take place in 9th and 10th grade. They can't read and comprehend the complex material they're getting. And so simply to make sure they graduate with a good diploma, a diploma that has a good education behind it, but also to make sure that they're then college or career ready, requires a literacy strategy, a reading and comprehension strategy at every grade.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that over the last 5 years you've seen some change. Have you seen some positive tendencies happening around this particular
Absolutely, because prior to, say, 5 or 6 years ago, the federal government did not assist states in any way on literacy after grade 3. K to 3, that was it. We love our kids until the 3rd grade, and hopefully they have it because they'll be able to move on from there. And what we learned about reading is that it's like building a house. You can build my foundation, but just because I've got a good foundation doesn't mean I can finish the house. You're going to have to help me. And it's the same thing with reading all the way through. And so good news is that the federal government, for the first time, has begun to help states with pilot projects around making sure that reading strategy continues into the middle and high school years. Many states have now come to grips with this and have adopted their own strategies, and that's where basically most of the curriculum is set, is at the state and local level. So the good news is that there is recognition, and that states and the federal government are beginning to recognize this and incorporate this into their main educational strategies. We can also look at international data. Children, unfortunately, aren't finishing as high as they should be in literacy there, and what we're seeing is that those nations that have made significant investments and commitment to overall literacy strategy, they're the ones who are truly, we're beginning to see significant gains. So, positive note, recognition of problem, and people moving there, but we still have a long way to go.
Long way to go. So on that point, just to transition from the reading side to the skills side and the growing demand globally, according to the OECD, only 40% of Americans have 2- or 4-year college degrees, making U.S. the 10th among industrialized nations. What recommendations do you have to boost the graduation rate in high schools and college completion rates in order to increase our supply of skilled workers in the workforce?
And incidentally, on that OECD statistic, that's all within the last 10 years. We were number 2 10 years ago. Now we're number 10. Right. We're actually 15th among 4-year degrees. And so it's not that we're educating worse, it's that others are educating better and coming on stronger. In terms, I want to get back to reading for just a second, because one thing that the research has clearly shown is that reading is essential for success in the other areas, and particularly STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And so one of the areas that we need to focus on, once again, yes, is literacy strategies, but we also need to recognize that about 1/2 of all of our dropouts in this country come from only 12% of our high schools. We're at about 1,700 high schools. We need to target and efforts to make sure we turn those schools around, and we'll deal with half the dropout problem right there. The second part, which I think is even more major, is remember that 1/3 of our kids are going to drop out of high school, but another 1/3 are going to finish high school without the skills they need to be college or career ready. So this is about making sure that high school diploma means something. We want to get a diploma, but then we also have to make sure that it means something. And so here's where we get into content. And so what we believe needs to be done, first of all, target the lowest performing high schools, make them develop a strategy for turning them around. Just don't put more. I'm not interested in spending more money to make a dysfunctional school more expensive. I am interested in strategic investments that truly turn them around. We focus on them. We recognize that no student learns the same way. No student comes through us, no two students are the same. So what are the targeted learning strategies that we can incorporate in there? Make sure that we're measuring and using data well, because it's essential that we be able to follow each student and their progress and intervene immediately. And then let's make sure that we're getting good content to them. And that's going to be one of the largest challenges for our country, because we're having a large number of teacher retirements as the teaching force ages. 1 out of 2 teachers will not stay in the school more than in the classroom more than 5 years. So what we need to be doing then is focusing on marrying what I call the marriage of content, good knowledge, the knowledge that's so important, the content knowledge, with good teaching, and that's where technology, I think, will play a critical role in helping us get back up there. It's first about the high school, but it's then making sure there's the preparation from the high school so that they're going to do well in whether they go on to post-secondary, 2-year degree, 4-year degree, or simply into the workforce, and making sure that the good content knowledge is always available to them.
That's right, and technology is a force multiplier, which will allow it to be spread to more and more places.
Yeah, the military coined the phrase force multiplier. It's how do you take what you're doing with 1 and make that soldier the equal of 5? In the same way in education, how do we take what that teacher is doing and then be able to extend that to far more? It's a force multiplier, and that becomes, particularly in the old days, it essentially was a one-on-one relationship. It was 1 teacher, 1 classroom. Today, with technology, we have the ability, both through hardware, software, online learning, a number of other applications, we have the ability actually to take that 1 teacher and expand his or her work to a number of classrooms to make sure that the content material is well delivered. And incidentally, that then also assists that teacher who is still left in the classroom the ability to expand their knowledge. They may not be. Give you an example. One state has 440 high schools, has 88 certified physics teachers, and only graduates 3 physics teachers each year out of their schools of education. I can't get you a certified physics teacher in every one of those high schools. What I can give you is high-quality physics content that then a skilled teacher in that classroom will be the facilitator in getting it to the student. New role of teaching. Very important transition, but one that we have to make.
That's right, absolutely. And on that, the technology note, expanding this across to all the different areas that we just spoke about, how is policy starting to allow that to happen? You know, with the reauthorization of the ESEA, you know, the Alliance's top priority is in helping to support that. Can you talk a little bit about that policy work?
Let me offer a somewhat controversial premise here, which is that at the end of the day, every important decision in education will be made by an elected official. And yes, teachers make millions of important decisions every day in the classroom. Their ability to do that will be determined by what the school board decides, what the state legislature decides, what the Congress decides, what the President of the United States proposes. The Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the main legislation that has the federal government assisting states and local school districts, is up for renewal this year, the old No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was passed 10 years ago. It had some use. It has accomplished many useful things. It's outmoded. Its remedies are out of date. It's a bit like a compact disc in an iPod world. And so what we need to do is to upgrade significantly. And so what that needs, technology is critical. And so what we at the Alliance work on is making sure that policymakers understand the force multiplier aspect of technology, that technology needs to be part of the total learning environment, and indeed that no longer can we continue to deliver education in the traditional way. Our state budgets are declining. There is a demand for greater student outcomes. I mean, it's a classic perfect storm of you've got to change. And so what the Alliance is about is showing in profiling what are successful technology applications that have clearly result in improved student outcomes. Because what we're about is if it works for 500 students in this school or it works for 50,000 students across 10 school districts, how do we make it work for the 6 million most at-risk kids in this country? And once again, by demonstration to policymakers, in our case of Congress, then what we hope to do is to get them aware of it and make sure that policy, first of all, does not retard technology. The first rule is do no harm.
That's right.
But the second one then is what is it that needs to be done to assist school districts, to assist states, and to assist schools, quite honestly, and to gain the benefit the most from it, the effective application of technology.
How does the Common Core standards and the work that's being done right now significantly impact that change going on in education today?
Common Core standards could be one of the most significant developments. Right now, every state sets its own standards for every subject. The Common Core initiative would say in reading and math, we would agree on a set of high standards, the states would agree, on a set of high standards that are internationally benchmarked, so that for the first time we would be saying, from a common or national approach, this is what our students should learn. Don't think that simply by enacting standards, that takes care of it, because the good news is that then starts up the discussion, how do we get there? What do we need to do in teacher development, teacher preparation, teacher effectiveness? What is it we need to do in curriculum development? What is it we need to do in assessments? And how are we going to have richer assessments that truly measure how well our students are reaching this new Common Core? And then if we're doing it in reading and math, how do we make sure that these new standards are now embedded in every part of the curriculum, whether it's social studies, science, chemistry, whatever it is? And so Common Core sets a goal for us. But then it starts a whole set of other discussions about how we get there. How we get there, it can't be done. It requires an understanding of technology and what are the most effective means. Because when you talk about curriculum development, curriculum delivery, teacher preparation, teacher effectiveness, the assessments, and can we do online assessments so that teacher has immediate response and feedback loop so that he or she can administer that assessment, immediately graph how the students are doing in his or her class, how are they doing compared to others. So, but the Common Core initiative, I think, is a starting point. Good news is that 48 states have indicated through their governors and their state superintendents that they want to be involved in this. We think that there's a good chance that 20 to 25 states could actually adopt these. And remember, these standards will, for the first time, say that all of our children, wherever they live, should be graduating from high school, college, and career ready with a clear statement of what that means. And then we begin to work towards that.
That's right. So it's clear by any standard that technology integration is providing this multiple opportunities to address the looming challenges facing our education system. Can you talk specifically about the technology advisory group that you're planning to bring up to Capitol Hill and with the various policymakers going forward? Because this issue of how technology integration and what it can do for all the things that we've just been discussing is going to have, I think, a huge impact.
It has a huge impact, and particularly now. This may be one of the most critical 2 or 3 year periods for education policy that we've seen at least in half a century. And I'm out of politics, so I don't have to be rhetorical anymore, but I believe that because what we have is we have an old model going out in education delivery. We have a new model coming in, but it's not clear yet exactly what that means, and not everyone's accepted it, and yet we have to move forward. And so what I believe is essential in the technical advisory group that I'm talking about, what the technology advisory group does is to help first of all advise the Alliance, my organization, about what are the policy levers that need to be used and we need to be talking with policymakers about. But the second part is, and through a series of forums that we've been holding in other subject areas for many years, we will actually profile for Washington policymakers as well as national organizations and others what it is that's working. Once again, we actually bring to Washington, or we can also do it now through telepresence and other means, we bring to Washington those people in the field that are making a difference, that high school principal, those 10 teachers collaborating in a school. And so we bring them to talk about exactly what it is they do, and then to connect that to the policymaker so that the policymaker understands and the policies that are coming out. We have an excellent chance in the next year of seeing a major rewrite of the federal legislation that governs kindergarten through grade 12, as well as the year after that, higher education. And so through this means, we want everybody to understand clearly the role that technology can play, where it is being successfully utilized, and let that be then incorporated into any policy that's written. Once again, hooking up what's working in a number of our schools with what the policy ought to be so that we can leverage or replicate that.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the literature and the work that you're doing at the Alliance, but before we get off this particular topic, do you advise or advocate for corporations and companies like Cisco what we can do to support this kind of effort and this kind of engagement from this technology advisory group? Is there anything in particular that we can?
Well, first of all, you're already doing a lot of it, and Cisco's been very active in this, and I've seen that clearly. A number of other corporations are too. But what people are hungry for is show us what works, and I would not. Don't be self-effacing. Sometimes the thought may be, well, are we not just advertising for ourselves? People are looking for what works. They know what's not working. Student outcomes are demonstrating that. There's increasing dissatisfaction. But they want to know what works. And so, first of all, calling to everyone's attention the need for higher standards, more rigorous training. There are too many areas of our country where there's not a full appreciation of what increased skill levels are needed now just to fill our jobs. 90% of the fastest growing high-wage jobs in this country require post-secondary. 62% of existing jobs right now require post-secondary. And so a major corporation like Cisco can, and particularly given Cisco's background with networking academies and things like that, can certainly be has to be a major voice. Number two is support around the Common Core initiative. Look, a child in Manhattan and a child in Montana need to have the same quality education. The third is to be that voice for not only nationally but also locally in terms of this is what we see internationally. And I guess the fourth one is Cisco and many companies are very much involved in global competition. I would encourage also to be involved in encouraging our citizens to think of global participation, because not everybody thinks that they're going to be competing globally. They are, but they may not think of it that way. But we all need to have the same global skills no matter what we do. I'm in a nonprofit. I'm not competing directly against a nonprofit in Beijing or Bangalore or Berlin, But if I'm not able to have the same global skills that are required, then I will not be effective. And so Cisco has already done a lot, but I would just urge at this critical time in policy making at the state, local, and state and local and federal level. Just look at it this way, because it's like a business cycle. Mm-hmm. Right now, 48 states have budget shortfalls. Revenues are down. Demand for product improvement is up. It's a classic business situation. Cisco's gone through this, a number of others, and so education's going through it right now. And the business voice and the business community voice is vitally important to be heard.
Mm-hmm. That's so true, so very true. Let me get back now to the Alliance and the publications that you have, because I've always been very impressed in their fabulous publications, such as Investing in Excellence, Making Title I Work for All Students, Every Child a Graduate, a Framework for Excellent Education for All Middle and High School Students, and Reading Next, which I understand has achieved 1 million
Well
readers.
over 1 million. Yes,
well over 1 million. And Reading Next, a vision for action and research in middle and high school literacy. Tell me a little bit about how you approach your publications, what the philosophy is in terms of creating them, and then some of the new ones that are coming out.
Our philosophy is we want to talk about what works in ways that show what clearly good research is established, what good practice in the classroom or in the community has established, and then how do we translate that to the policymaker so that it gets turned into good policy. So our documents don't seek to be academic tomes, academic volumes. They seek to take the best of what has been done in the academic world and then translate it. I spent much of my life in government, and what I needed something that I could readily understand. That doesn't mean I'm simplifying it, but I need it readily understandable. And then I also remember the Alliance's job is to help motivate people, organize people to act. Hopefully this information is available to a wide range of people, accessible from the educator to the practitioner to the school board member to the community member to the business leader. So we try to look at important education topics, look at what the best research is, translate it into terms that people can readily understand who aren't necessarily in education, and then to use that to motivate policymakers to take action.
Well, this has been excellent, and I think that your publications across the board have been very interesting reads, as you say, I think for every level of audience. I'd really like to thank you for coming today and for sharing your insights with us. This has been great, and we really are very honored to have you here, and I think that the Alliance is a fabulous organization, one that we will continue to support. Any closing words or thoughts you'd like to share with us or the other corporations and business leaders at this time involved in promoting education?
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and just to say that I happen to believe that this corporation, Cisco, and others like it, but particularly this one, hold the future in many ways for education, because it's our ability to take knowledge wherever it's generated and to get it to others wherever they're situated, and particularly in remote areas and low-performing classrooms and places that it's hard to get to bring together the quality teacher and the quality content, to get it to wherever people are situated. That's going to determine the success of the United States, are both economically, in a wide range, in other ways as well, and provide incredible opportunity for millions of kids. I was at a function one time and I saw a high school student say, "Believe in me." And what that meant to me was, if we get that child quality education, that child will just go and is not only our future, but the future for a whole lot of others. So I just want to thank you for making this forum available and for what you're doing.
Great. Well, Governor Weiss, I'd like to thank you for all the work that you're doing and for joining us here today. This video was brought to you by GETideas.org, an online community site designed to support education system leaders on global education transformation. To view this video, please look for our website at www.getideas.org. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you.